Scandi guest spot, and in today's program, the African ambassadors in Scandinavia are paying tribute to South Africa's first black president, Nelson Mandela, the anti-apartheid icon and a worthy son of Africa. Joining me now is His Excellency Benedict Amobi, the Nigerian Ambassador to the Nordic countries. Ambassador, thanks for being here, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ambassador, first of all, how did you react to the death of Nelson Mandela?
Yes, well, of course, with tremendous sorrow that a great man had now been lost. The passing of any person really is always met with sadness, no matter their age.
Yes.
But more so, a man like Nelson Mandela, who was a great, wonderful individual. Of course, you are familiar with his role in the freedom of South Africa. He fought for justice of his people. He fought for the liberation of his people. Spent many decades locked up, incarcerated in South Africa. He gave his life for the struggle, and of course, very great sadness with his passing.
That is really touching. Sir, could you tell us if you know any specific attribute that Nelson Mandela will be remembered for?
There's so many. I mean, of course, the one that comes to mind immediately is his forgiving spirit. This is what is held up by many people, that he could suffer tremendous loss.
Yes.
Loss of family life, loss of his freedom, loss of not being able to see his children grow up. All these things, even his wife, his relationship with his wife was affected by his incarceration. So he lost so many things, and despite this, being incarcerated by the apartheid regime for almost 3 decades, yet he came out with a forgiving spirit. He felt that he needed to move on in life, and the only way he could move on was by forgiving. And of course, those of us who are Christians, this is the foundation. Love and forgiveness is at the foundation of our Christian faith. So it's a wonderful thing that this spirit of forgiveness. A second thing I think is his tremendous integrity. When you think of the man, you think of his integrity. Despite the fact that he came out and he was in a position to remain as president of South Africa, maybe for life. You see what you find in many parts of Africa with this tenure elongation, but you found this man coming in, taking the presidency just for one term, and serving and coming out. You see, so I think it also speaks to his spirit of integrity, his integrity. So this will resonate, his forgiveness, his integrity, reconciliation. These are things that will continue to resonate. They stand out. Very bright.
That's excellent, sir. And he said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And in another quote, he said, no country can really develop unless its citizens are educated. Yeah. How do you reflect on this, sir? Is it a very valid statement, and how can we relate this to what happened in Nigeria, in your country?
Yes, of course, it's very valid. It's a very valid statement, as you say. Education is absolutely crucial. It's crucial to the development of any country, of any individual, any country. And you see back home why we continue to put every possible resource into the education of our children. You see the average Nigerian is even prepared to sell his own property, his land, in order to ensure that his child is educated, because in that education it's believed that it's an avenue to progress, it's an avenue to a good job, it's an avenue to getting gainful employment, better employment. And that's a fact. You are empowered. An individual is empowered through education. Without education, a person remains ignorant. It's just the fact. And you see many of us, whether you're Yoruba, Igbo, Edo, whatever part of the country you come from, there's that strong belief that if there's anything you can give your child, give him education. You leave property for your child. If he's not well educated, of course he's going to sell it. He's going to get rid of it. He won't know how to handle it. But you give him education, and he has that ability to create wealth for himself, not just to sell the family property, but to create wealth and bring wealth to the family. Education is essential. And all you have to do is go and look at what has happened in South Korea. If you go to this present president of South Korea, I think it's Park Chung-hee, was the father of the present female president. He is a man that is really almost like the Ataturk of Korea. It was his policies that actually led South Korea to become the giant that it is today in terms of being an economic giant. And one of the things he did was essentially to strengthen the education system in South Korea. It was under his tenure that he ensured that education was compulsory. I believe it was for primary and secondary school education, and then strengthened the educational system. You know, it was from that time, within the next few years, that South Korea now began its economic development into the behemoth that it is today. So education is essential. You must have a critical mass. It allows you to have, of course, the intellectual prowess also to question, to ask questions, to demand that things are done properly, to demand for justice, to demand for economic development that will be inclusive. See, so it is essential. And I think although those of us who left university, I went to University of Ibadan, one of the best universities in the country. You know, it was the premier institution in those days. And a lot of the people that were educated went and took up professorships and then went to open other universities in Nigeria. So what we need to do is to continue to strengthen the educational system in Nigeria, provide adequate funding for these institutions, strengthen them, and then. But education is essential.
But should the education be free, or should it be something one need to pay for?
Well, my brother, you know that of course in most developing countries it's free up to secondary. I think even in the United Kingdom now, you have this debate, and eventually I think what they did was to approve a £9,000 sterling for any education, any university education in the UK now. People are paying £9,000 sterling.
Wow.
You know how many million naira that is. But of course in the Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries, particularly Finland, which has one of the best education systems in the world.
It's free.
Yes, it's free. Of course, the developed world, where you've had developmental processes for the last 200-300 years, smooth development and a high standard of living, it's affordable.
Yeah, but
they can manage that. But back home, don't forget, my brother, most primary schools are free. Primary school is free. In many of the states, it's free. And some states have gone on to provide free secondary education too. In many parts, I think where people pay are those into university entry. University entry, and even then, back home in Nigeria, you know, the costs are not that expensive. Not that expensive. But what has happened is that, of course, there's a market now for the private institutions, which have cropped up, secondary school, and then universities now, quite a few private universities. And of course, if you license private universities, private institutions, they don't get any remittances or support from government. So they are free to charge what they want in order to carry their expenses.
Yeah, but that could affect the standard of education, because people might want to go after the profit then, if they want to charge whatsoever they want. Then I think don't you think the standard of education might be affected?
Well, my brother, I think it works the other way in reality, because you see, it's supply and demand. And you, the individual that is going to pay, you are paying, if you are going to pay and you are paying a considerable amount of money to a university, you will demand that you get your money's worth. If you get into the university after paying, if they say 2 million, 3 million, and you get into the university, you are doing science, you get to the lab, you don't see any test tube, you don't see any chemicals. You will demand that they refund your money. You are not going to accept that they give you less than what you paid for.
That's true.
And don't forget, because there are several universities available throughout the country, there's competition, and word gets around. Nigerians Nigerians won't accept anything you shove down their throats. So if they see that this university in Imo State is providing better than what we have in Abeokuta, or Abeokuta is providing better than what is happening somewhere else, you would either demand, insist that they provide you what you are paying for, or the next year, the next semester, you will work with your money to the one that will provide it. And the same thing, my brother, with regard to even the politics. People are now demanding, if you see certain governors that are doing very well, providing infrastructure, providing roads, providing gutters, providing water. Some are providing free education at higher levels, even scholarships, computers in the schools. People are asking questions. If this governor can do it, what is this other governor doing? And you know, with a level playing field, you found that people are voting, and they vote for people that they feel can deliver, and those that are messing up have been shown the door. And you can see this throughout the country. I mean, you and I are watching. You saw Edo State. Yeah. Oshomole is from Labour Party. But he came back in the last election. You saw people from Imo State, Rochas, overthrew the sitting governor there. And also you saw Lagos State. These are opposition parties coming because people believe that they will better serve the interests of the electorate. And you must give praise to President Jonathan as well, my brother, for allowing the level playing field. If it was another time, maybe it might have been rigged. But this one, no rigging allowed. You serve your people. The best man, may the best man win. So we need to also give credit to President Jonathan for allowing a transparent process.
Yes, great. That's great. Thank you, sir. And another touching statement by Nelson Mandela is this. He said, "I have always regarded myself in the first place as an African patriot, And in another, he said, I dream of an African which is in peace with itself. I dream of the realization of the unity of Africa, whereby its leaders combine in the effort to solve the problem of this continent. I dream of our vast desert, of our forest, of all our great wildernesses. The question that comes to mind is Africa moving towards that direction, and what can be done to improve upon the present achievement we have right now?
Yes, definitely. You may not feel that we are making the kind of progress that we should be. You know, I think we in Africa, we're very impatient that we should move ahead very fast. And you can't blame people for wanting progress and wanting progress now. What we're seeing in this world of globalization, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, we have so many things that have already been invented.
Okay.
And all we need to do is pick them and run with them.
But we could make it to be better.
You can make it better. You can run with what you have. You pick and choose what is best suited for you, and you run with it. But don't forget, you need good people. You need educated people. You need good people. You need people with the fear of God who will drive the process. And I must tell you, Africa is making good progress, particularly under the auspices of what we call the Africa Union. That is the old OAU.
The old one? The old one, the OAU or the new one?
Organization of
African Unity,
which is now called
AU.
Africa Union. We now have the African Commission, which is based in Addis Ababa.
Yeah.
So a lot of the structure is there, the foundation is there for this African unity. And of course, my brother, you know, you are dealing with 54 different separate independent countries. 54. Even the European Union does not have that number.
That's true.
And don't forget, even the European Union, you have a more homogeneous group of
society.
Exactly. Africa is 54 different independent countries. Even a single country in Africa, take Nigeria, has 300 different ethnic groups.
That's true.
In Nigeria alone. If you go across the border to Benin Republic, you may get 20 ethnic groups.
That's true.
Go to Ghana, you may get another 10, 15.
That's true.
And it's like that across the board. Then throw in, you've got the Arab group, you've got the Sub-Saharan group. Then throw in the different religious disparity. Islam, Christianity, animism, all of that. Then throw in the different economies moving at different rates. All are different, and yet we are talking of we have to make one unified continental Africa. So it's making progress. The meetings, there are structures there to support the river basin commissions, the discussions for education and things. But we are making good progress. The only thing is that I believe that if you look at a country, the European Union now, roughly 60% of their trade is done amongst themselves. It is done amongst themselves. Now, in Africa, you have less than 10% done amongst ourselves. In some instances, you cannot connect your capital, an African capital, without passing through Paris, changing plane and coming down again. So the potential for Africa, once we start increasing our trade, increase our infrastructure, our roads between one another, and trade within ourselves, my brother, is going to be the next century will be the African century, I can assure you. There's tremendous potential, tremendous hope for that African continent. And we are going in the right direction. Most of the African countries are now having better governance, good governance, greater transparency. Look at the rates, look at the growth rates of all the African countries. The eyes are on Africa now because there's a market, growing middle class, growing economic strength, diaspora, You know, Nigerian diaspora are remitting between 10 to 15 billion dollars back into Nigeria every year. So there's a big market there, and a tremendous opportunity for Nigerians and for all Africa.
All African. That is true. That is true.
Yes.
Actually, we have great potentials in Africa. The potentiality is very great, and one of the challenges, the leaders, and that's one of the reasons we are having this tribute tonight about a good leader like Nelson Mandela, who will be able to utilize this potential, the great potentials that we have in Africa, who are the leaders who are going to utilize them positively, judiciously, enable for us to actually arrive. And we hope so. Sir, what are some of the inspirations in connection with this type of leaders? Because actually we lost Nelson Mandela, who we believe that is a worthy son and one of the greatest son of Africa. So what do you have an advice to give people what they need to do to emulate his steps, even if they are in leadership position or they are in other lesser position? What will be your advice to be able to emulate this?
Yes. Well, my advice is just, look, what did Mandela's life speak to? What did his life speak to? He spoke to the values of love and human brotherhood. Love, human brotherhood. Look, go back to his, even before when he became a lawyer. You remember his relationship with Oliver Tambo?
Yes, they both set
up a law firm. And he ended up, even at that time, he was representing very poor black people in their problems with the apartheid regime. He used to give his service free of charge to individuals. So you see, that spirit of service started right from when he was a young man. And that is one thing that is extremely important for people, for all of us. When you do anything in this life, you work hard. Work hard. I always advise my officers. My mother says hard work never killed a person. You work hard. Have the fear of God in your daily life. Have the fear of God. It's essential. It is essential. I have seen it in my life, active. And then have a spirit of giving. Everything the Bible says, the more you give, the more you are blessed. And you find that in this life, you may try and gather the whole money in this world, you'll be an unhappy person. But when you give, you see the joy in people's faces. You see the joy when you are bringing up people out of poverty, giving back, giving education, whatever you do. So I think to emulate him, to emulate the great Madiba, emulate him by his life of service, his life of giving. He was a wise man, gentle, compassionate. He was a giver. And if you saw when I made a little presentation during the tribute to Mandela, I mentioned the words of Albert Einstein, who said that only a life lived for others is a life worth living. And honestly, it is the truth. You can see Mandela, who lived his life, devoted all his energy to the struggle for his people. That is, look at how 95 heads of state turned up for this man's funeral.
That's great.
Who can get which bigger testimony can you get? That was a life worth living, a life in which he devoted himself to his people. Honestly, so really in everything, even here in the embassy, in anything you do, you try to provide better services for your people. If if it's passports that people need, get it to them with the least stress. Don't make things difficult for people. Give them a good experience. Whatever issues, listen to their problems. Try and solve them. Whatever you can do, do.
Exactly.
Do what you can to assist your brothers and your sisters, and
to render a great service.
Render a great service with the fear of God, because God is central in everything that I do and what I believe every other person should do. Ideals.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your time, Ambassador Benedict Onochi Amobi, the Nigerian Ambassador to the Nordic country. We thank you for your time, sir, and we look forward to having you on Afro-Scandic Guest Pod next time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure, and I want to commend all of you in Afro-Scandic for the wonderful work you are doing. The organization like this together is a wonderful thing, and you are keeping the flag flying.
Thank you.
With very positive thing, bright young men and women, which shows what our Africans can do when they come out here. You are equal to and you can do better even than those that are here. So I want to commend you, and please keep the flag flying.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. God bless.
Bye bye now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.